We have decided to use another unfamiliar tarot spread this morning, which involves the past, the present, and different aspects of the present combined together in the present, and then a potential outcome. And as you can see, I've also chosen to use the Jodorowsky Tarot de Marseille restoration. So let's begin. We have a few cards here. I inquired specifically about a work-related situation. And we can see here the first two cards dealt with a relationship aspect. We may not often think of our relationship with work, but we have one. Love, hate, and oftentimes I think more hate than the latter. I'm trying to center this. I want that there. Perhaps something has changed in that relationship, and maybe recently. I know it has for me, and so this card was spot on. And according to the Jodorowsky system, the Queen sits between the comfort zone of the Four and the moving into something different and new category. So it sits between the Fours and the Fives. And this was spot on. This was absolutely spot on. And you can see that while maybe she, the Queen of Cups there, has decided to move on into some other aspect of the relationship with her employment, in this case, which direction does she look? Well, if we consider this a linear timeline, she looks to the past. She has moved on, but has she moved on? Into the present, and we can consider these two a couple of different ways. We consider this the immediate past of the present and the immediate future in the present. Together will combine to get this, so we'll discuss them all anyway. We see new potential, and again, for me, this was a spot-on card, because in the recent past, some things happened that absolutely changed the dynamic of my relationship with my work, and then something new within that framework, that existing framework at the same place, came along, and it did involve a lot of potential for growth. So perhaps we've taken up this opportunity, or should consider doing so. It does present the potential for something great. It has a lot of energy and action. You'll definitely have to work on it if you go that route, but it presents a lot of room for development and growth. Now, the Empress also represents growth. So this represents the potential for growth, just like an unplanted seed represents potential for growth, but it hasn't at that stage grown yet. And in this card, in the Empress, it has. And in fact, if we uncover her a little bit, you'll see on her shield there a bird that looks very similar to the phoenix, also a symbol of growth and remanifestation, renewal, rejuvenation, perhaps having risen from the ashes of the situation alluded to here in the Queen of Cups. You'll also notice that up until this point, we were dealing just with the minor arcana, very specific to the relationship aspect. the relationship between the individual and, in this case, their work, their employ, or whatever this applies to for you. But now, having gone through some things, realized some potential, we see some growth in ways not necessarily directly related to the initial situation. We've developed and grown as a person. We've learned things as a person greater than the relationship that initially started this, greater than the aspect of life that was the catalyst for this change and growth. And together, we see them merge into the 7 of pentagrams, or discs, or pentacles, call them what you'd like. This has actually shown up a couple times recently for me, so that tells me something. But in the context of this reading, we see in the present, say the present, if this deals with the past present and this deals with the future present, the present sees us in a position where, again, we've moved out of the initial sphere of life that gave rise to this lesson, and we find ourselves in a position that involves change to many areas, to the environmental aspect of our lives. So what we learned from this, what we've been through so far, caused some change, and this suggests that we've figured out how to utilize that change, how to ride that wave, and how to direct that transformation in ourselves. And of course, as we learn to change things in ourselves, we see the development of things externally. As we've ordered things in regard to one situation, we see a mirror effect or a ripple effect of similar change in other situations in life. And so, future, we come to the Lovers. And I like the Jodorowsky depiction of this. In a lot of depictions, we'll see maybe 2 people and a spiritual figure. Here we see 3 people and a spiritual figure. And this really has a lot to do with choice, a lot to do with choosing. And the thing about it, we see this individual guy here. He has 2 options, at least 2 options that we can see. Now, where this comes into play as far as my relationship with an employer or other aspects of life, since we've been moving into that, or whatever this applies to for you, a lot of times we make a decision and we can't come back. You know, Robert Frost wrote about the road less traveled, read at many a graduation ceremony. I know it was at mine. But the thing about that poem, he talks about the road less traveled. He advocates for that. But we don't often hear so much about the fact that whichever road we choose, we don't get to come back to that starting point. And so we'll do well to choose carefully, to weigh our options. You know, this guy in a truly just romantic situation, you know, she looks younger. She has maybe a more serious face, a little less charming, but maybe she has a bit more of something that she doesn't. You know, we have to weigh things in our life. And so I suggest when we come upon decisions that we need to make and that involve a good deal of consequence. Weigh them carefully. Set up a pros and cons sheet. Maybe consult with your higher self and other people who've been in a similar situation, who can offer their insight. I mean, you can't ask them to make the decision for you, and you shouldn't expect them to. And you shouldn't let their word determine the course of your life. But it never hurts to see what others' experience has been. Regardless of what aspect of life or aspects this applies to, we've only gotten to a position where we have a major choice to make because of the present and the past. So do well here. Take what you've learned from the past and apply it here. Don't dwell on the past. Don't live in the past. But don't forget it. You'll also notice these two women look fairly similar, don't they? Both blonde-haired, wearing similar attire. One of them looks to the past, right? One of them looks maybe even longingly to the past, defensively to the past. But here we see perhaps the same woman looking forward into the future with authority. We can have that same stance. We can have that same exact demeanor of confidence based on our rebirth. We've gotten through something. We've learned to transform the present based on the lessons. We have the potential. We have the capability to do that. And we can certainly, from there, make good decisions. And if things don't go exactly as planned, and a little secret for you, they won't. Almost with guaranteed certainty, things won't go exactly as planned. You can look back on all this and realize, hey, things didn't go as planned before, and I've made it this far. What can I do next? And you'll do just fine. As always, folks, please feel free to leave comments, questions, insights, suggestions, thoughts, even a little ridicule if you want. And make sure to subscribe if you've enjoyed this. Don't forget to share it so other people can see and listen. And also, of course, make sure to follow me on the social media links below in the description, as these get updated daily, several times a day. And unfortunately, right now, this only gets updated a few times a week. So enjoy, ponder over all this, and see how it applies. And make sure to keep transforming, folks. Have a fine day.